So I'm wanting to make a couple of stools for the inside of the shed that I built, and I've gone around in circles a few times about what I want to use to make these stools. So I've got a couple of cookie rounds here that I've had drying for about a month, and I think they need a little bit longer. I don't know if these seem a little bit big, but they're an option. I have this as an option, and this is a chunk of wood that I just today, actually for the first attempt ever, I milled this freehand with a chainsaw. So this has even come up in my mind that I could use these as little stools, and I might, but I think I've settled on this as what I'm going to use. This is a piece of cedar I milled a couple of years ago, and so one thing I know for sure is that it's dry. It's not going to change its shape a whole lot. It's ready to go. I'll basically just cut it in half, finish off the top a little bit. I ended up cutting the board into 3 pieces. In half just made the stools too big, and into thirds was perfect. Each seat was 12.5 inches wide. I gave them all a sanding. I started with 80 grit sandpaper and ended in a 220 grit, just to polish them up and refine things a little bit. Get rid of the rough edges. For the legs, I found this piece of hemlock that had been left over from the doghouse that I built a couple of years ago. And in order to get 8 legs out of that one piece of wood, I had to cut them at 21 inches. I sanded those all down as well, and then I found some smaller cedar to use as the cross braces. I played around with how I was going to assemble everything, and then I realized something. Okay, so I kind of need to explain the predicament that I'm in. Because this wood dried slightly crooked or curved, I guess, this isn't flat. This seat bottom isn't flat. My intention was to make everything square. I got these cross braces, make the legs together in a square form, and then put them on the seat bottom. But the problem is because it's curved like that, it's not going to be square. So I either would need to accommodate by chiseling out these squares where the legs are going to sit in, which is one option that I could do. But the other option, I guess, is that I just place these legs on first, screw them in, figure out what the angle is, and then put these in. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now, and we'll see what happens. I've never built stools before, so this is a learning process. So here you see me going forward with the plan to just put the legs in the seat bottom and figure out things from there, but spoiler alert, I didn't like it. Yeah, it looked funny. It was like crooked, and too much crooked for me. So I'm gonna do it the other way. So moving forward with the plan B, I used a multi-tool to trace out the outline and then used a chisel to take out the bulk of the material. I just eyeballed this, got it as flat as I could. And this option turned out way better. So far it looks way better. I'll put another support here. I added the last 2 brace pieces, and then the first stool was complete. And I actually like it. A couple of weeks later, I went ahead and built the second stool, which I had envisioned to be easier, more efficient, make fewer mistakes, but that just wasn't the case. So one thing I'm going to do different with the second stool that I didn't do with the first one, and I don't think it was because it was as noticeable, but I'm having a hard time squaring everything up with these like loose. It's hard to explain, but because like the wood is crooked, it's all crooked, and so I can't figure out how to place everything in order to set my squares down where I have to notch them out to flatten them. So what I'm going to do is brace all the legs together so that I have it as a whole, and then put it down, and then I know exactly how I can trace out my little squares. Whether it was because I built these stools a couple weeks apart and forgot the details of the first build, or if it was the variation in the materials I used, lack of skill, probably a combination of all of those things. I ended up making a lot of mistakes on this stool, and the way I should have done it was just this way on both from the beginning. I should have made and assembled all of the legs in a square form, traced them out onto the seat bottom, and but that's the way it goes. It's the way the cookie crumbles. It's a good thing I'm not a perfectionist. As long as it's perfectly imperfect, it's perfect for me. So there, they're both done. They look similar. They look cute. I think they're good.
Hi, Clyde. Hi, Clyde Bear. Hi, baby bear. Did you see the cute little face? You barking away out there, are ya? Are you barking away out there?
With the stools done, I now want to try and tackle building a door and making a sign for my shed.